Hi, I'm Sylvie Chomp, and today we're going to read a story about the villager Gladys. I believe the interior design of Gladys's home in New Horizons was inspired by a Japanese folklore about a young man who saves the life of a crane and how she comes back to repay his kindness. Here I have a book titled Tsuru no Ongaeshi, which translates to The Crane's Repayment of a Favor. I'm not a native Japanese speaker, so if anyone can offer a better translation, please leave a comment below. This video would be too long if I translated word for word, so I will simply summarize the story for you. It's story time! A long time ago, at a certain place, and that's actually what it says, there was a poor young man named Yosaku, who worked as a woodcutter in the mountains and sold the wood in town. On one snowy day, he saw a crane who was trapped, and although she flapped her wings furiously, she could not get free. "Poor crane," he said, "let me help you." And so he set her free. That night, he returned home. It was a very cold and snowy night. He heard a knock at his door. Standing outside was a beautiful young lady named Otsuru. She asked if he could let her stay for a while, as it was so cold outside. Yosaku let her in, and she explained that she had gotten lost trying to get into town. In return for Yosaku's hospitality, Otsuru helped him with chores and massaged his sore shoulders. The next day, the snow was still falling heavily, so Otsuru could still not leave the house. After 4 or 5 days, the snow finally stopped. But the two of them have already bonded and decided to get married. Otsuru worked very hard around the house to help Yosaku. One day, as Yosaku was heading into town, Otsuru asked if he could buy her some thread, as she wanted to weave cloth. He did, and she went behind a screen to start her work, but not before she made him promise not to look behind the screen no matter what. She was very insistent that he not peek at her as she weaved the cloth. When she was finished, she handed her husband the beautiful cloth and asked him to sell it in town. As Yosaku tried to sell the cloth, he caught the attention of a nobleman. The nobleman was very impressed and bought Yosaku's cloth for many gold pieces. Yosaku went home and thanked his dear wife for her hard work. He also told her that the nobleman wanted more cloth and asked if she could make more. And so she did. Again, she made her husband promise not to look behind the screen while she worked. When she was finished, she said she began to feel sick and would have to stop weaving the cloth. Yosaku went to sell the cloth to the nobleman once again, and because his wife was sick, he told the nobleman he could not sell any more cloth. Unfortunately, the nobleman was furious and threatened to execute Yosaku. And so, Yosaku had no choice but to ask Otsuru to keep weaving the cloth. Otsuru agreed to make one last roll. This time, Yosaku decided to break his promise and looked behind the screen because he was very concerned for Otsuru's health and wanted to know what was going on. "Oh, a crane!" Yosaku exclaimed. Yes, indeed, it was a crane weaving the cloth, plucking her own feathers one by one to make the beautiful cloth for her husband to sell. The crane was Otsuru, and she noticed Yosaku watching her work. She changed once again to her human form and began to tell Yosaku her story. "I was the crane you saved on that snowy day, and to repay your kindness, I transformed into a human to help you. However, I must leave now." Yosaku was shocked, but he wanted Otsuru to stay, saying that he didn't mind her being a crane. But Otsuru did not stay. She reverted back to her crane form and began her departure. Yosaku kept begging her to return, but it was no use. Otsuru let out a sad cry, circled their home 3 times, and disappeared into the sky. Did you like the story? What do you think the moral of the story could be? And why do you think Otsuru had to leave her husband after he found out her true identity? He didn't seem to mind. Also, I hope Yosaku didn't actually get executed by the nobleman. Let me know in the comments below how you interpret the story. But first, let's get back to our Animal Crossing crane, Gladys. There it is! There's a loom in the middle of the room on which she works, and there are kimonos displayed. One is made from beautiful, elaborate cloth, and the other two are more humble, which fits the story that when the crane lived with the young man, they were not very wealthy. Let's chat with Gladys. Oh, that's not true, Gladys. You make the best cloth. I don't even know how to use a loom. I also like how there's a tiny screen in the corner. It's not big enough for her to hide behind, but I guess she doesn't have to hide her crane identity now, nor does she have to pluck her own feathers. Go, Gladys, go! I'm happy for you. Let's see what else Gladys has to say. Me, I want your autograph. Well, looks like we don't have to worry about her. She knows how famous and well-loved she is. Let's take another quick look before we end the video. I haven't gifted her anything at this point, but I'm definitely going to give her more kimonos. Ones that are not made from her feathers. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time!